Alright gang, it's Blaketos84. I'm doing a Deadeye ability review on Slippery Bastard. A very controversial card in the world of Red Dead Online. So let's go ahead and read down the line and see specifically what it does or what it's intended to do. We'll go into the pros and the cons of the card. This is something I use situationally. And man, it is a bastard of a card. It is a fitting name. So let's get to it. Slippery Bastard Tier 3. While Deadeye is active, enemy players cannot lock onto you, and you cannot lock on to them. Other enemies are much less accurate when shooting at you. The rate at which your Deadeye drains is increased. Okay. So for those that aren't aware and aren't familiar with how this card works, you get into Deadeye and you become kind of a blur to your enemies as you're running. It's kind of like a blur going across the screen. They can't lock onto you with auto aim, but at the same token, you cannot auto aim lock onto them. So the pro to that is if you're playing in the Showdown series, Spoils of War, Plunder, Up in Smoke, any game where you're kind of moving around a lot, this is a really good card to have. Like when you're at the Manor, and I think it's Spoils of War, I get them confused. This is a perfect card to have because you can just creep up on the other side, pop into Slippery, get the bag, and get out of town. Nobody can lock into you, usually, and then you're off to the races. So, but if you're in close quarters, you would need to use a shotgun, or unless you're just really fast at aiming without the assistance of the auto aim, then you could just shoot people up. But what I typically do, and what happens against me a lot, is I will pop out of Slippery and blast you with my shotgun, and then pop back in before you get a chance to really recuperate and then keep running. So when you're playing those types of games, this is great. Or let's say you're out in the Heartlands, or you're outside of Blackwater and you're getting in a gunfight with some people and you have to cover a lot of ground to get to them, to try to kill them. You don't have the range with your weapon, you're not a good sniper, whatever. You can pop in Slippery and it's going to be hard for them to lock in on you. And you can, run up on them, ride your horse up on them, and then pop out, shoot them, or stay in there and free aim shoot them. So this is a very powerful card. I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of tuned it down and nerfed it a little bit come this update. That wouldn't surprise me one bit. So it is a pain to play against, but when you know how to use it right, it's a delight to use. So when I use it, like I said, I use some variation of a shotgun, whether it be the two sawed-off double-barreled, or if I use the pump action, I would use that. The defense against this card, Painted Black, is supposed to be the nullifier of that. You should be able to mark a target onto them. I'm tiered out on Painted Black. I don't use it a lot, so that's fine. That's another story. But you should still be able to paint a target on the person and shoot at them. So when I run Slippery Bastard, which I do a lot, there is a certain setup that I use. Because it drains Deadeye fast, you absolutely have to use the Unblinking Eye. If you're going to be using the card, say, in a showdown setting. Now, if you're just using it for, whatever, just trying to cut some distance or to tackle someone or whatever, that's fine. But if you're going to be using it a lot in gameplay, this is a setup I would advise that you use. I would do the Unblinking Eye because your Deadeye and Eagle Eye drains a lot slower. You're going to be in this a lot, it's going to drain your Deadeye a lot. So you're going to need to be able to stay in Slippery long enough to do what you need to do. So I would absolutely go with the Unblinking Eye. The other card I always use with this is Come Back Stronger. Your health begins regenerating much sooner after you take damage. So, as I said, auto aim doesn't work on that, but if you have Painted Black, people still shoot at you. Sometimes people just shoot in your direction, or they'll free aim lock on you or whatever, or they'll be close enough to hit you with a shotgun. So to be able to regenerate health and heal as you're still in Deadeye without having to pop a potion for that is going to be huge. I know when I do the Spoils of War, I use that because I usually get shot at as I'm running away. And I want to heal, and then a lot of times when I have to stop and take a potion, it's to do more Deadeye because of my Deadeye drains so fast, even with the unblinking eye. So the third one is the third ability card you would want to run with this is kind of up in the air. So some people, well, not some people, a lot of people will run peak condition with this. And the reason they run peak condition with this is because sprinting uses less stamina. So you're going to be able to run a lot longer. This is a running card. You're not going to be in Slippery Bastard and sit behind a rock. It's pointless. You're not going to be, in Saint Denis using Slippery Bastard unless you're running up on somebody. So to be able to have your stamina is important, because if you start grappling with someone, you're going to need that stamina to get away or to kill them or to break loose. So peak condition is a very popular card people use with this one. Another one that I use a lot is Never Without One, because you still can take headshots if people are using Painted Black, or if they're able to lock in on your head with the free aim, not the auto aim, but with the free aim. Another card you could use, which I started to use, was of single purpose. You take a little less damage from bullets while unarmed or using a melee weapon. So again, when you're using this card, a lot of times it's going to be in the showdown games, in the regular size showdown games, to steal bags or to run bags to an enemy camp, or whatever the premise of that match is. So you might not even need the gun in your hand if you're just running a bag to go and steal it, because you've got shooters that are going to help you get back. If you can just get in and get out, you might play with this card. One that I like to use, because I already know I'm going to be running, I already know that I'm going to sprint to get the bag, is I like to use To Fight Another Day with this one, because it says you take less damage from bullets while sprinting. So let's say you're at the manor and you grab that bag and you're on your way back, and there's that whole side, you got their whole other team just shooting at you. They can't lock onto you, so they're going to have to free aim shoot at you. You're gonna take less damage if you're using this card. You're already sprinting, and then if you use a Come Back Stronger or another healing card, you could start to regenerate health so that you take less damage. So that's typically what I see. Oops, let me fix this. This is typically what I see with people. Excuse me, running with Slippery Bastard, or what I typically run with. So this is a fun card to use, and again, this can be a nightmare to play against. My main defense against this, and what I would suggest that people do, is you see them coming on the map because they're a blur. Position yourself where you could come up and tackle them, because you know that they've been running for a while. They're not going to have full stamina. So if you're behind cover, you can just pop out, grab them, tackle them, and choke them to death and kill them. If you're playing against a more, say, and this is mostly referring to showdown, Spoils of War, stuff like that. If you're playing against a really good team, or people that are playing together on the same team that have their own chat going or whatever, what you'll see is you'll have one guy that goes in slippery and collects a bag, and then you'll have a guy or two in the middle, and they'll either have one of those guys become a relay guy, and then he'll run it the rest of the way back, or you'll have one or two guys standing there, so when you chase after the guy with the bag that's in Slippery Bastard, he's waiting for you and he's going to start shooting you. The reason I bring that up is what I do with this card too. If I'm playing against players like that where I know I cannot leave my cover, I will get shot up in a second, I will use my pump action or my sawed-off shotguns or whatever shotgun I have, and I will try to stay in cover as long as I can and just free aim on them and shoot them a couple times, or just point in that general direction, run toward that direction, and just shoot them. But this is a fun card to use, and it is a major headache to play against. So Let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know what you would stack these cards with. Let me know what your experience against it is. I know a lot of people hate playing against this card. I know a lot of people think it's ridiculous. I agree, but some of these cards are really ridiculous, but that's just the game, you know. So there's always a plus and a minus, a checks and balance to all these cards, which is the beauty of the design behind it, is so that no one setup becomes the dominant thing. There's always ways to counter it. So again, thanks for checking my video out. Drop a comment, give a like, dislike, whatever you want to do, subscribe even, I don't care. Till next time, we'll talk to you. Take care.